Canada's premiers are pushing for a say in housing deals between the federal government and municipalities. Ottawa began offering funding directly to the cities this fall through the Housing Accelerator Fund, part of a plan to fast-track housing developments. Today, the federal government said it won't be slowing down those efforts.
If provincial governments want to have more of a say in housing, they have the tools within their own jurisdiction, within their own financial capacity, to offer the same kinds of incentives. But I'm not going to put the brakes on a program that's actually showing results right now. There is no time to waste in a crisis situation. We're going to continue to engage directly with communities. We would welcome the collaboration of the provinces, but in the meantime, we're not going to wait for anyone.
I'm joined now by two of Canada's mayors. Cam Guthrie is the mayor of Guelph, Ontario, and Mike Savage is the mayor of Halifax, Nova Scotia. Mayor Savage, I'll start with you. Your premier, Tim Houston, said the Accelerator Fund is bad news. He doesn't want Ottawa dealing directly with cities like yours. What do you say to that?
The Housing Accelerator Fund has been extraordinarily good news. And a very open and transparent process. And, Minister Fraser has done, I think, a really great job of saying, these are the things that we want to see in terms of density in cities. For cities like our own, it wasn't a big stretch. We were already on the road to most of those things. And the other thing about the accelerator, it's a wide open process. It was announced in the election of 21. It was put in the budget of 22. We all spent a year wondering, what were the ramifications of it and the criteria. We applied. I don't know what Guelph did in terms of timing. We applied in June. Minister Fraser came in the summer and said there's a few things that we'd like to do, and we said, look, we can do that because we all recognize that we need housing, and particularly we need this missing middle, this kind of hidden density housing within our communities, a city like Halifax. What he offered to us initially, what he wanted, didn't quite fit Halifax, so we went to him and said, look, we think we can do better. We think we can build more housing this way, and he said, sure thing. So it's been a good program. I think it's working across the country.
Yeah, Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, Mayor Guthrie, does not want Sean Fraser tinkering around the edges like this. He doesn't want Sean Fraser going to Halifax and saying you need to do this to get some cash. Would you welcome a bilateral deal with the federal government on housing, or would you wait to get the province on board? Is there something to be said for what Doug Ford is saying about jurisdictional creep?
No, the Premier is wrong. And there is no time to wait. We are in a housing crisis, and we need to have as much funding as we can from upper levels of government to try to help with the housing crisis. So, as the minister said in the preamble there, if the provinces want to come to the table with their own programs or want to try their own bilateral agreements, or even trilateral agreements with municipalities included, we would definitely be open to that conversation. But there's no time to waste here. We're in a crisis and we need funding to help unlock housing in our communities. And I believe what Minister Fraser is doing is working very well across all of Canada in doing exactly that.
I think I saw you quoted saying you'd roll out the red carpet for Minister Fraser.
I would. I want to make sure that our city is ready to welcome all people and unlock housing, as I said. And so no matter where that money comes from to try to help with that, I will definitely roll out the red carpet for anyone that wants to do that. One of the things that municipalities has said over and over again is that it is a partnership that has to work for everyone to try to deal with this crisis. And when I hear premiers say things like, well, I don't really want them to get involved in this, it really is, it's infuriating to me because we don't have any time to waste here. Municipalities need funding, and we need it as soon as possible. The burden of the property taxes on people to try to do that alone is not going to work. And that's why we need upper levels of government to help.
There's a recognition, I think, by the premiers that there is more money needed, Mayor Savage, but they're also saying it's just not a great deal. The Accelerator Fund isn't fair, they maintain, because Quebec cut a side deal with the feds. They get $900 million up front. Every town and city in that province could potentially get money, whereas the rest of the country has to go cap in hand to Ottawa and say we need some money. They have to meet their standards. They can't go through their provincial, they can't go through the premiers to get the money. Does she have a point? Is there some unfairness to the program that Quebec got this kind of carve out in their own pool of money to dole out?
Well, JP, as you know, it's not unusual that Quebec has a unique circumstance and often gets carved out of programs across the country. But, whether you go cap in hand to the province or cap in hand to the feds is six of one, half dozen of the other. I want to be very clear. I would roll out the red carpet for Premier Houston and all the other premiers to come and talk to us, to put us at the table, to talk about housing, to talk about homelessness. Let's not forget, we're talking about housing, but we have people who are living on the streets of our cities as winter is closing in. And homelessness and programs like the Rapid Housing Initiative, which was a federal initiative, and which the province has supported in Nova Scotia with wraparound supports, which I'm very thankful for. But, we need to sit down and talk about these things. There's no question. I'd be more than happy to have we've called for some time, as Cam has said, that we'd like to have a conversation around a table with the federal government, the provincial government, and with First Nation governments as well, and talk about what we need for housing in this country. And I think we probably have very similar goals. We should just talk more often. But in the meantime, don't stop a program that's working.
Yeah, Mayor Savage, I mean, this is real for you. I was reading today that there are tent encampments throughout the HRM, throughout the Halifax Regional Municipality. I think there's 30 of them or so now. It does seem untenable to have this sort of situation. Can you just paint a picture for our audience of what the housing crunch is like in your city?
Yeah, it's a common story, I think, across the country. I mean, cities large and small are dealing with homelessness. I'm at Halifax City Hall, the historic building here in Halifax, and as I look out the window in the darkness as a cold night approaches, there's probably 20 people living in tents outside City Hall. And it's a real problem. In Nova Scotia, it's a provincial responsibility for homelessness, but the city has stepped up. We need more. We need more help. We need it really very, very quickly. And so, but it goes to the point that we need housing across the spectrum. We need all kinds of housing. And we've been working on that at the City of Halifax for close to a decade. We've brought in plans that make housing much easier to do. One simple plan that we have is called the Centre Plan, which allows 37,000 units to be built basically as of right, and another 24,000 in other areas. That's housing for 150,000 people. The cost of building, the interest rates, the labor is slowing that down. But we will all work towards finding housing solutions for people. But we should never, ever, ever forget the people who need help the most are the people who are facing winter in tents, in sheds, in the woods, couch surfing. And we need to find every avenue, and we should stop arguing about jurisdiction and start focusing more and more on the problems of people who really need help.
Yeah, Mayor Guthrie, it's not, homelessness is not necessarily driven by housing affordability alone, though, is it? We know that addiction, substance abuse, that's a big part of it. That's why a lot of folks end up on the street. What is your city doing to address that challenge? And do you feel like you have a willing partner in the form of Doug Ford and the Progressive Conservative Party at Queen's Park?
Well, one of the things, as Mike just mentioned, the rapid rehousing funding from the federal government, which has been very successful, it did give a lot of money towards the capital outlay that would be required to build and or renovate a lot of the units that would be required for people that are experiencing homelessness. And it is true that a lot of people, not all, but a lot of people are experiencing homelessness due to mental health and or addictions issues as well. The problem municipalities are facing, especially in Ontario, is that as much as we can be at the table for the capital side of things, building the bricks and mortar of these units, we need the surrounding supports for those people that will be taking those units. We cannot just throw a key at someone and say, well, here's a unit for you. These people do need wraparound service. And that is a provincial jurisdiction that the provincial government, as a healthcare issue, should be providing. And so the alignment that's coming from the federal government and the municipal government in trying to do the bricks and mortar for these buildings, we are sometimes missing that other alignment from the province to help with the supports and the operating costs to go around that. So we have many units in our city that are looking for more of that operating and supportive costs. And we're hopeful that the province will come to the table as quickly as possible, because this is a growing problem, not just for Guelph, but across our country. Just as Mike was saying, looking out his window at homelessness camps, I've got one looking outside of my window right now as well. This is happening everywhere. And so we really need, as Mike said, to have everyone talking more, but also not delaying anything at all. And let's get to the root of these issues and get to solving it.
Okay, let's leave it there, gentlemen. Thank you so much. Cam Guthrie is the mayor of Guelph, Ontario, and Mike Savage, the mayor of Halifax, Nova Scotia. Thanks for joining us tonight.